Trisha and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making my menudo recipe. I'm going to be using beef tripe. Now menudo is a tripe soup, and you can use a beef or you can use pork. You can also add pig's feet or the beef feet. Okay, I chose beef because that's what my grocery store happened to have and it was a little less expensive, so I chose that. I also chose it in one big piece. You can buy it already cut up. I chose it in one big piece because it was going to cost me less, so that's just something that you can think about. Okay, so here is the beef tripe, and this was actually double the size, and I actually cut it in half, and then I've also cut it into little small pieces. Now what you want to do with your tripe, whether it's beef or pork, is you want to rinse it off really well. So I've already gone ahead and I've rinsed this off, and then like I said, I've cut half of it already into little like 1 by 1 inch squares. But then I'm going to want to rinse it off again one more time, or maybe 2 or 3 times more. Okay? You just want to make sure that there's no little greediness, no dirt that may have gone in there. You want to make sure there's no little pork hairs in there, because sometimes you will find that, and just so you know, that is just normal to find. Okay, the other thing that I like to do on my tripe is I like to cut off a lot of this here, which is a lot of the fat. And I will let you know that I do like to use my scissors to cut up my menudo. Now you can use a nice sharp knife to do this, but let me tell you, if you've got some kitchen shears or scissors, it's going to save you a lot of time, and it's so much easier to cut this up. Okay, so all I'm doing is going through it and trimming off a lot of this, and which is a good thing because it's less to be skimming off at the end, and my menudo won't have so much fat in it. Now I'm going to put the recipe in the description box below, because what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to tell you what the ingredients are as I go along. And as you can see here, I'm continuing to trim off even more fat. And while I'm at it, I'm even finding like a couple of little hairs. It's just like finding feathers in your chicken, you guys, so it's not a bad thing. All right, so let's cut this up. Let me just show you. I've cut off a piece, and it's the easiest thing to do is just cut off little pieces at a time rather than trying to cut off a bunch. And then just cut yourself some strips like that. There's a little bit extra fat that I want to remove. And then just start cutting off little squares and throwing them in a bowl. Actually, I'm going to throw these in my little colander because I've already gone ahead and I rinsed this off, but I think I'm going to go ahead and rinse it off one more time. Okay, I should let you know that also behind me on my stove, I've got a big pot. So you're going to need a large pot like this. Now, like, if you want to go ahead and half the recipe, you can go ahead and use a smaller pot, but I really recommend that you use a bigger pot than what you think you're going to need. And in here, I've got 24 cups of water, which is about 1.5 gallons of water, and that's good for about 3 to 4 pounds. I may need to add a little bit more water in case I see it getting a little too low. And I've already got it going. I wanted to get it hot before I started putting my meat inside, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it off now because it's nice and hot. And then I'll put my beef into it. Okay, so I'll be back once I'm done cutting up all these little pieces, and they don't have to be little squares, by the way. If they end up in a little triangle or something, that is fine. All right, everyone, I've already cut up all of my tripe, and I've cut it into little squares and rinsed it off really well and drained it. So I've got my hot water in here. I've gone ahead and I've turned up my heat again, and I've got it on medium, because medium to high, because I want this water to start boiling again with the beef tripe inside. So I'm going to go ahead and put that right in there. Okay, so I'm going to let this start boiling, and once it reaches the boiling point, I can go ahead and lower to a low to medium heat. I want to cover this up and let it cook for 2 hours. So don't start counting your 2 hours until your water has started boiling and then you've lowered your temperature. And while it's cooking, you want to check it and make sure it's still got a good amount of water in there. Add a little bit extra if you feel like it's gone down too much. Otherwise, leave it as is, but then you also want to be skimming off any fat at the top, just like any other soup where we might want to skim off any fat from any meat that we use. I'm going to be using a little skimmer, a little strainer here, and I've got my little bowl where I can just pick up the fat and put it in a little bowl next to it. So I have this ready right next to it. going to be watching this and let it boil. And I've got another pot over here where I'm going to boil some of my dried chiles. So let's get to that step right now. All right, so the next step that I want to get to is my dried chiles. Now, I just want to point out something for some of you who may have this question. I have this wooden board here, this wooden cutting board, and you're probably thinking, why are you cutting up meat on top of it? I actually have a little plastic cutting mat right here, a little liner. I got these at Dollar Tree actually, and I got 2 of them for $1, so they come in really handy. Not only for cutting up meat to make sure that I don't get any of the juices into my board, but also when I'm cutting up items like chile or maybe chopping up some onion, that I don't want the flavors to get, you know, soaked in there, because then I don't want that to get into anything else that I may be cutting on here. Okay, so we're going to take the chiles and we're actually going to remove the stem. And when you pop it open, now you might want to use some plastic gloves for this, because there's going to be little seeds in there, little veins that you're going to want to put out, and it does have the oils from the chile that you'll get it on your fingers. You want to be very careful. So I would recommend that maybe you use some food grade gloves while you're doing this. I'm used to it, you guys, so this is what I'm doing. So all I'm doing is just pouring out all these little seeds, and of course removing this part here where the stem is. I want to save as much of the chile as possible. So that's all I want to do. Any little veins that I might want to remove, I can remove them as well. I don't have to worry too much about that. Okay, any little bits of chiles that might, little seeds that might still be left in there, they will also come out in the water, so just keep that in mind. So we're going to go ahead and do all that to all of our little, or big chiles actually, they're not little. Okay, the only chile that we're not going to do this to is going to be to my chile de árbol. Now let me tell you what chiles I have here before I continue on. I do have pasilla. This is a dried pasilla chile. I have a New Mexico. Now I've got 2 of these big pasilla, and then I've got about maybe, I think I've got about 8 or so. Yeah, I've got about 8 or 9 of these New Mexico chiles. Okay, you can use whatever. You can use ancho if you want. You can use whatever dried chiles that you may already have in your home. Maybe you've had some left over from another recipe. And sometimes those packages are really big, and they're really economical to purchase a bigger packet than it is to buy a small one. So you'll have leftovers and you don't know what to use it for. Well, use them for this, okay, for your menudo. And my chiles de árbol, these are these little red ones. These are completely optional because they are hot, and these are not necessarily something you would put in a menudo, but I like my menudo to have a little bit of spice. So I'm only going to use 2 of those. And let me go and tell you, I've also got 3 bay leaves here, which I need for the amount that I'm making. I've got about 6 cloves of garlic. I may add more. And then I've got a whole onion here, and then I've just kind of cut it here. Oh, there's a little fly here. I've just cut it up into little pieces like that. You can quarter it if you want. You don't have to cut it into thirds like I did. Okay. Continue with removing all the seeds, and then all of this will get put in that other pot that I have on the stove, which I'm going to go ahead and get it going because I want that water to start boiling. And then I'm going to put all these chiles in that pot of boiling water. I'm going to cover it and leave it in there for about 10 minutes. I just want my chiles to get tender. All right, so I'm going to continue finishing this off, and I will be back. All right, so I've got my pot of water here. It is already hot. It is not quite boiled yet, but I'm going to go ahead and throw my chiles in there so they can start soaking in the water. So I'm going to throw all of my pasilla and my New Mexico. You can use another chile called guajillo if you prefer. Whatever chiles you have, like I said. I'm also going to add these chiles de árbol, but like I said, you don't have to. Now, if you want to go ahead and take the time and make sure you remove the little seeds out of them, you know, whatever might be in there, go ahead and do so. Cut mine in half and just take some out just so you can see that they just pop out. There we go. Now, instead of using those chiles de árbol, which I told you are quite hot, it seems to me like the smaller the chile, the hotter they are. You could add a little bit of chili powder to your menudo if you want to flavor it that way, but you can wait till the very last hour to put that in there. For now, we've got this going, so we're going to go ahead and put this on my stove. Now, when you are either roasting or boiling chiles, you want to be very careful. You want to make sure you have a ventilated area. You don't want to pop the lid open and put your face over it to look at them, because the oils and the fumes from the chiles will give you a bad choking and coughing situation. So just be very careful with this. All right, this is going onto the stove. All right, so I've got my menudo, which is already boiling in the pot here. Let's go ahead and remove the lid off of it. It's got a nice rolling boil. It's got a little bit of foam at the top, so I know this is a nice boil. So to this, I'm going to add my onion, which I've cut into, you can either cut it quarters or into thirds. So I've got 6/3 here. Throw that all in there. And you can use anywhere from 1 to, I'm gonna put 3 bay leaves because I do have a little bit more than 4 pounds, and the recipe is basically for 3 pounds of menudo. And like I said, you can half that or double it, whatever you wanna do. So I've got 4 cloves of garlic. This is actually 5 here, but one of them is kind of skinny, and like I said, I have a little bit more meat than my recipe calls for, so I'm gonna add a little bit extra. The other 2 garlic cloves, I'm gonna save them for my chiles once they are ready. So now I'm going to just stir this around. And like I said, I'm going to be checking this regularly. I'm going to put the lid back on here, and I'm going to be checking it regularly and skimming off any fat that comes and floats up at the top. So I'll be back. All right, it's already been 10 minutes and my chiles have been boiling in the water here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat, and I'm going to go ahead and actually leave them in there. Let them rest in the hot water for the remainder of the time until I'm ready to put them in the blender. All right, everyone, it has been an hour that my menudo has been cooking. I have come over and I've checked it periodically to see if any fat has formed on the top. I don't have any little scummy bits of fat, and I think it's because I trimmed off a lot of it. Now, if you look at it and you see a little bit of kind of like liquidy oil that's floating at the top, you can go ahead and remove that if you like. I think mine looks fine. It's not very bad. It's actually not too much that I feel like I need to remove it. It looks pretty clear, my water, so I'm really happy with it. Now I'm going to go ahead and start preparing my chile. Now I will tell you this, it smells wonderful in here. If you've had menudo before, whether your mom, your grandma, some family member, a friend, or even had it at a restaurant, but specifically if you've had it at home, you know what it smells like. And you know that at the beginning when it's not cooked and you're just about to cut it, it doesn't have the best smell at all. It is very gamey, but it's not a bad smell, okay? But once you start cooking it, it starts to have a really nice flavor or a really nice scent to it. And of course, it brings this very homey feeling. And it's absolutely wonderful when you've got a cold day outside or everybody's feeling like, you know, they want something comfy, a little comfort food. Menudo is perfect for that occasion, just like any other soup or any stew. Menudo is perfect. Now, here, menudo is also known as sort of your hangover type meal because it does have some fat and it is apparently absorbs the alcohol in your body so that you don't have to suffer through a hangover. Now, if you've never had menudo before, I do suggest that you go and try it someplace. Try it at a restaurant, ask for the smallest portion, and just try it out. See if you like it. I love it, and you should know that menudo is made in different ways. Everybody has their own recipe, even if you're from around the same area. Even if you learned it from your mom and your grandmother, you changed it around. I know that I have. All right, everyone, after saying all of that, I'm going to go ahead and start preparing the sauce that I'm going to put in it. I'm going to let it cook for 2 hours before I actually put this in there. But my chiles have already cooked, and I've left them there to rest in the hot water. So they're nice and soft now. And here they are. I'm going to get all of these chiles, and now since it's not as hot, it's okay to go ahead and put it in the blender. I put those all in there, and I am going to add a cup of the water. The only reason that I'm shaking it off is because I don't want to get this liquid all over the place on my counter. All right. That all in there. Oops, I just got some on my counter. I know there's another little chili in here. This is really nice and dark liquid right in here. You want to save that for tamales, to put in your tamale masa. It'll give it a nice red color, and it'll be flavored also. Okay, I think that's about it. So I'm going to take about a cup of that same liquid. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and put it down on here since I've already spilled some on there anyway. I'll take about a cup. There we go. And pour that right in there. Okay, so to this I want to add the 2 garlic cloves that I had left over. And I want to add some ground cumin, comino. And I thought I had this open already. Yeah, it's open. Okay, so I'm going to add about a couple of teaspoons. Now, if you don't like too much of cumin, you maybe just add a teaspoon to it. But really, just add these seasonings to taste. Oh, and I had to just pop it open because it was sealed further down. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna add 1, 2, and I like things to have a lot of flavor. I'm one of those people that likes things with lots of herbs or lots of spices. Now, when I say spices, I don't mean like hot. I just mean like spices, like different flavor. And I'm gonna go ahead and add some oregano. And this is Mexican dry oregano. Let's pop that open. Okay, so, oh my God, oregano smells so good. And I'm just gonna add 2 heaping kind of teaspoons to that. Oh, delicious. All right, so I'm also gonna add some salt, and that's salt to taste. And I'm gonna add some pepper. And I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of pepper, but I'm gonna do a couple of halves. This little half fits in that little hole. This is already ground pepper. You can use fresh ground if you prefer, which I kind of do. You know what? I don't think I'm going to add a whole teaspoon. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and taste it afterwards and see if I like it, and if I need to add anything else, I will, or any extra, what I've already added. I am going to add a teaspoon of paprika. Now, I had mentioned earlier that you can add some chili powder if you want. I'm going to add paprika because I love the taste of paprika. And I happen to have one here. This is a smoked paprika, so it'll have a nice smoky flavor. And it also adds a little color. Well, it's already got plenty of color, but I'm going to add a little bit more color. Okay, this is all going to get liquefied, and then I'm just going to leave it here until another hour has gone by, and that is all ready. All right, I also want to point out that my recipe that I have down, that I've done before, I have 3 pounds of menudo, and I actually used 4, and it was actually just a little over 4 pounds. And I did mention that I was going to use I think 24 cups of water in my pot, and I said I might have to add some more, so I'm actually going to add this water from my chiles because I don't want it to go to waste. Like I said, you could use this in some other recipe, like for your masa, to make some tamales. So that'd be awesome, but I'm not going to be making any, I don't think anytime soon. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. And I'll add a little bit more liquid to my menudo, which by the way looks good. I don't think it needs it. All right, so I will be back in 1 more hour. All right, everyone, it's got about another 30 minutes for the 2 hours of cooking time to be over, and I just wanted to show you how there is a little bit of that fat little scumminess that's forming at the top, and I'm going to go ahead and get that out of there. But I wanted you to look at how it looks. This is what it's looking like, the menudo. It is very white, and it's almost cooked to the amount that I like it to be. You don't want it to get too overcooked. Now, when this is all cooked and ready, we are going to remove these bay leaves out of here. And so just keep in mind how many you put in there so that you know how many to take out. All right, everyone, it has been 2 hours that my menudo has been cooking, and I have been skimming off as much of that foaminess on the top, this fat. I've been removing it and then putting it into a little bowl next to me. Let me show you what I've got here. But I think it looks pretty good like that, you guys. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to add now, because it's been 2 hours, I am going to add my hominy. This is a white hominy, and it is a 30-ounce can. This is completely optional. I'm going to pour that right in there. Now, I drained it as much as I could, but it still had a little bit of liquid in there, and that is fine. Go ahead and mix that in. Ooh, steam coming up. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add our red salsa to this. So I'm going to explain something to you real quick before I do so. All right, everyone, so now we need to prepare our red sauce to be placed into our menudo, and I wanted to explain something really quick that I did not say at the beginning. My menudo is a menudo rojo, which means a red menudo. Now, if you don't want a red menudo with all this chili, you can leave out the dried chiles and just use the seasonings that I put in here, which would be the salt, the pepper, the cumin, and the oregano, and of course the garlic. Put all of that into your cooking menudo. But I make the salsa because I like to make a red one. So I'm just going to skim the sauce just to make sure there's no, little pieces of the thick, the skin of the chiles. There's no large pieces still in there. Also, it also keeps the seeds from getting into my menudo, especially if you don't want the extra heat. I'm going to use a spoon to kind of like just help push it through, and I'm going to do this until it's all passed through. Now, I probably want to be using a bigger sifter, and I don't have one, but you might want to do that so that it goes a little bit faster for you. And what I have here is I have some of the menudo water. I went ahead and I dunked my cup in there and took some out so that I can also pour that over. So that also helps to kind of water this down so that I don't add any extra water, but instead I'm using the water that already exists in my menudo soup. Okay, you guys, I'm going to continue doing this until I've done it with this whole container. All right, I failed to mention when I added the hominy, it's going to cook for another 30 minutes. And for the last 10 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and add that salsa so that I incorporate it into my menudo and give it a beautiful, rich flavor. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to pour it with my cup first so I don't drip it out of my bowl too badly. My bowl was completely full up to the very top. Okay, I think I can now take the bowl. It's not too heavy now. I can pour the rest of this in there. And mix it up. And it looks beautiful, and of course I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, we're going to go ahead and let that cook for just another 10 minutes, and then it will be ready to serve. In the meantime, I'm going to chop up a little bit of onion and slice myself a lime, and I'm going to go ahead and warm myself up some corn tortillas. All right, everyone, this is my menudo rojo. It has been 2.5 hours and it's been cooking, and now I just need to pull out those bay leaves that are in there, and it is ready to serve. All right, everyone, I have served myself a nice bowl of menudo, and I've got some tortillas there that I've warmed up on the side. I'm going to add some chopped onions on the top, and then I'm going to squeeze some lime as well over it. Ah, that looks so good. And now we're going to go ahead and give it a taste. Okay, just making sure I put more of that lime because I love lime in my menudo. Of course, that is something that you can leave out. You could also top it off with some cilantro. And I like to take my tortillas and roll them up like this. And then kind of dip my tortilla in there. Get all the flavors into a spoonful. All right, everyone, I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up. I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up. I love my menudo. Like I said, you can leave out the chile or maybe put a little bit less if that is your preference. If you don't want it too spicy, it is not a spicy hot, it's just spicy. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed my recipe for a menudo rojo, a red menudo. And I hope that you'll be trying this. Give it a go. If you've had menudo somewhere and you enjoyed it, why not make it at home? Give a nice warmth to your house when it's nice and cold out there, or maybe for a late night party time. Have some menudo ready for everyone. Okay, everyone, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And thank you to everyone who has already done so, and for leaving all the very nice comments. So make sure you leave a nice comment down below, and you share in your social medias, and hit the notification bell, because I do have videos every Tuesday and every Thursday, and once in a while I have a weekend vlog. That's it, everyone, and enjoy.